All right. Good morning, everyone. It is morning here in the Pacific Northwest. My name is Nancy Rebecca with Intuitive Mind, and I am talking about the August frequency forecast for 2022. So, because this is live on YouTube and on Facebook, I will just be waiting a couple of seconds as you all come on. So, good morning, Amy. I'm wanting to know how you all are doing. We're just beginning August, and which will be coming up next week. Just wondering how everyone is feeling. Happy Thursday to you too. So, I as I was kind of diving deep into this August frequency forecast, I'm very aware that there's some pretty big shifts that are happening. There's big shifts happening every single month. We can expect to see big shifts continuing to happen every single month for the next several years. Because why? We're going through this birthing process of expanding our consciousness, awakening in our ability to look at life and live your life from a spiritual perspective. And that's just not going to happen overnight. And really, kind of thank goodness, because I'm not quite sure how well we would do if just suddenly everything shifted and changed and our frequency and vibration went really high. Our poor little physical bodies wouldn't be able to make that leap, make that jump from one stone to the other on the path of life. So we really need to work together with our body. So it's a good thing that it's moving slow, but wow, it can be intense. So good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, I'm having my cup of coffee, and I actually haven't even had very much cup of coffee. So I haven't had enough this morning. Let's just put it that way. So I wanted to begin first, as you all are starting to come on, wanted to start with the ascension symptoms first that you might be experiencing here in August. Good morning, Becca and Danelle. Not sure if anybody's popping on from YouTube, but good morning to everyone on YouTube who is tuning in this morning, but will also be watching the replay later. So I wanted to start with ascension symptoms that you might be experiencing here in the month of August 2022. Now, the nervous system. So remember when I said you've got these higher frequencies that are coming in. You've also got high frequencies from the earth, because the earth is awakening as well. It's coming up through the body. So you're getting it from both sides, from the cosmic celestial side and from the earthly side. It's really impacting your nervous system. So go back and listen to all of those talks that I did throughout July, where I really came at the nervous system from all different angles, giving you a lot of tips that can help kind of heal, calm, soothe your nervous system so you can really cope with these higher vibrational frequencies. So good morning, Rebecca. Good, Amy, popping on to YouTube. So thanks for letting me know that you were there as well. Achy joints. So I don't know if you ever remember when you were a kid that your joints would get achy because your bones were growing pretty rapidly in a short period of time. It's the same exact thing. You may notice that the joints in your hands are sore and tender, your knees, your elbows, your shoulders, how about the neck? So you can have some achy joints as kind of at a molecular level. You're starting to really experience in August some molecular changes in the structure of your physical structure, but also of your spiritual structure. Greater desire to move your body. So that's going to be really coming up here in the month of August. That's exciting. Enormous letting go of old conflicts. So how many of you can remember an incident that happened that you kind of still, it's 40 years later, 20 years later, 2 years later, it just keeps replaying. You're going to start to notice that those conflicts can no longer hold your attention because you're moving to a higher frequency. Holding on to those old conflicts are lower frequencies. And so you're just not going to be able to kind of hang on to that weight while you're trying to swim to the surface of the water. You're going to have to just let go of that weight. And so whether you're consciously doing it or not, it's going to happen for everyone. Social filters are dropping away. Those societal filters that kind of guide us. It's kind of the lens that we look through, guide us through ways of behaving in life. And so those social filters will start to fall away so that you can have greater clarity. Dropping obedience to rules. Now, it doesn't mean that the whole world, and this isn't just for you, I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to about a global shift that's happening. So it isn't that we are no longer going to be obedient to rules, but you're going to be able to have that greater clarity to say, does that rule make sense? Is that rule meant to oppress me, suppress me? Is that rule meant to kind of control us? Or is it offering greater freedom? So you'll get to have that dropping that the energy of obedience so that you can have greater clarity about what rules really apply to the awakening of humanity. As I said, you kind of heard me say molecular structures are shifting, activated upgrades are happening here in the month of August in a really big way. We are constantly being upgraded in the months to come, the years to come, but this month there's a huge rise in shifting. Dreams. So I'm not sure if any of you are having dreams. I can tell you that I am traveling far, far away, almost like I feel like I'm way in another galaxy, way out there in the universe, deep, deep, deep sleep. And so the dream recall may be minimal, but the travel is maximal. So, telepathy, to me, I should have put that at the top of the list. Telepathy is where you can have a thought in your mind and somebody else picks it up, or they have a thought, you pick it up. Our mental telepathy is growing in a big way. That's why we're kind of also having some, what we think is some pauses or breaks in our memory, or it's like, wait a minute, let me kind of grab that thought. That's where you're starting to shift to kind of half communicating with someone verbally and half communicating telepathically. So you're going to start to notice that more, and you can actually make a game out of it with a friend. Say, hey, let's kind of play with our telepathy and see if we can pick up on each other's thoughts. So I wanted to start with the ascension symptoms first. So let's talk about August. So the symbol that Spirit showed me about August is this ginormous rogue wave of water in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of a calm ocean. Everything is beautiful on the surface of the water. And then suddenly this enormous wall of water in the form of a wave rises to the surface 100, 200 feet high. Now, rather than water, I want you to think about this as energy. But this is what Spirit showed me, is that we're going to have this kind of enormous rise in energy of this kind of wall of energy that's going to move through. And it's just going to, again, help awaken us all at a larger level. Now, waves can be caused by turmoil. Waves can be caused by kind of troubled undercurrents. But this particular wave is caused as kind of like a celestial wave. It's a cosmic wave. We've got a big flood of light that's coming to the earth, and it's really causing this big wave to uplift us kind of to the top, the crest of the wave. It's going to carry us far. So imagine this wave of light coming up. You're right at the crest of the wave, and suddenly you're at one place in your life, and now you find that the momentum has really moved you in a big way in life. Now, this isn't literal. It isn't, although a lot of people are literally moving houses right now, are moving businesses right now. It's crazy how many people are suddenly literally moving. But this can be me sitting right here in my chair, you sitting where you are, sipping on your coffee, and suddenly you have this big shift in consciousness where you put your coffee cup down and you're like, I was just problem solving that problem. And suddenly I don't even want to think about that anymore. I have other things that I want to think about. So the undercurrents of humanity's woundedness is most certainly there just under the surface. hidden from the light of day, but how we move through our old wounds is changing. So the August frequency forecast shows an impressive wall of energy that might feel frightening or it might feel exhilarating. It just depends on what lens you are using to look through. And we're going to do a meditation on this to see if you can get more of a sense of how are you looking at the world. Have you ever been to one of those big lookout points and they have those big binocular type things where telescopes where you can put the little quarter in and then the little thing shifts open and you can look at everything off in the distance? That's kind of how it's happening for us. Here in August, we're being kind of challenged to rise to that spiritual perspective. So again, I'm going to do a meditation on this so that you know, because I want to know, what chakra are you looking through that lens when you're looking at these changes? I had where's my note? I shouldn't have notes in many, many places. So I had one of my students ask me yesterday. She had come on a call. I was teaching. Nobody else was on the call yet. And she said, can I ask you a question? Do you really believe, Nancy, do you really believe that we are going to be okay over the next few years between now and 2025? And I said, well, yeah, actually, I do. But I am an optimist by nature. I will tell you that. I haven't always been optimistic. I still have periods where I really wonder about humanity and wonder if we're going to make it, wonder about myself. However, I stay pretty tapped into spirit. And what does that mean, make it? What does make it actually mean? Because some people are choosing to leave the planet at this point in time because they feel like they are better served in the spiritual world helping the earth than they are here on earth. Their physical bodies may not be able to sustain the high frequencies. So they are actively choosing to kind of cross over to the other side. Now, I used to be a hospice nurse, so I was at the bedside of many, many people that were letting go of their physical body and moving to the spiritual world. And I will just tell you that it is their time. They are actively conscious of that time. We've had great conversations, which can be for another day. So what do we mean by, are we going to make it? It doesn't mean that you'll literally be here on earth. But as a society, yes, I do believe this expansiveness that we are going to make it on the other side, and that we are getting many spiritual gifts that we can't even begin to imagine. I do really, really believe this. And I believe in our ability to rise above the greed and the corruption and destruction and abuse and all of those things. Because given the choice of not believing and believing, believing makes my day-to-day life a whole lot easier. Okay, excuse me. So when I'm talking about this shift that's happening, it's like, what lens are you looking through? And I remember as a cardiac intensive care nurse, I would walk in the unit, I would know which patients I was taking care of on my shift, and I would look at the chart. I'd go in and I would assess the patient, and I would come to the conclusion, what is the most life-threatening experience this particular patient could have during my shift? And then I would arrange the room in a way to have all the appropriate equipment just in case they struggled, that life-saving equipment would be there so that the team could gather and really rapidly tend to those needs. That's looking at things from a physical perspective. It's like, let's stop death at all costs. Let's help this person survive and get through this hump. So, but when you're viewing things from a 5D perspective as a nurse, then still I would look at, what could be conflicts in regards to their human health. But also I would look from that 5D level of, oh, everything's going to be okay on my shift. It's going to run smoothly on my shift because my spirit's going to tell me. But also I'd be able to see the guides and angels that are just filling the intensive care units. having that sense of relief that I'm not the only one there who is going to be able to support this person in their crisis, that spiritually there's a lot of support. So that's looking at it not just simply from the 3D human dimension, but the spiritual dimension as well. Yes, you can feel serene while a wall of energy that is indicating change is moving towards you, picking you up and carrying you to another place. Yes, you can be at peace, you can be calm, you can be serene. And this is messing with our head. That's all I'm going to tell you. It is messing with our head. The undercurrents of power imbalances, greed, violence, manipulation, inequities, oppression, human trafficking, traumatic abuse, all of that has been buried deep on the ocean floor. But the charge of those things, the charge is being taken out of them. And so those undercurrents are rising to the surface into the light. And as they get higher to the surface of the vibrational frequency, it just dissipates, it just dissolves. It can happen that easily. So the forces of light are taking the power of destruction out of the toxic currents. So that's happening here in August. Now I'm talking about a global situation, but let's take it to a personal level. All of those old toxic thoughts, the criticisms, the judgments, the painful experiences that you've had, all of those are rising to the surface so that your own light can flood those stuck places and help them to dissolve. But again, it might happen. It might take a couple of, so you have to, I'm hearing Spirit say, whistle while you work, whistle while you work. And it's like, you're going to have to find some ways to keep your head out of the dirt, out of the sand. You're going to have to find tricks, dance or sing or, whistle. But Spirit is saying only you can get yourself out of those stuck places. People can't do it for you. So in 2008, I was writing a book. Spirit wanted me to write a book about the great change that was coming up. Now, this was in 2008 when, some people were talking about it, but not many people were talking about it. So I'm not going to go through the whole piece, but there was a significant point here in the book that actually I stopped writing the book at that point. And that's when Spirit said, Nancy, you've been, for 15 years, you've been evolving spiritually, you've been meditating, you've been actively expanding your consciousness. There are people who sit in caves for years. There are people that go to ashrams. There are people that go through all kinds of spiritual courses, past life, karmic, ancestral, that are training. But during this great time of change, you can have the most skeptical, rigid person who believes that the spirit world doesn't even exist could wake up the next day and suddenly, what I call become sighted, suddenly become consciously awake, suddenly become kind and can see where, wow, I was really off in my thinking. And it was at that point when Spirit was telling me that those who are the least awakened have the potential to awaken more than you are, who've been spiritually developing a long time, suddenly can have a sudden shift. I went around and I asked my friends who were, teachers and highly developed spiritual people that I trusted more than I trusted myself. And they just said that's just not possible. It's just not possible. So I believed them and I stopped writing the book. And now look where we are in 2022. We have people around us waking up. But the point I want to make here is that I said, wow, so what's going to happen to all those people who've been diligently meditating an hour every day and eating really well and sleeping and exercising and doing all the right things, and then suddenly the person with the least potential to awakens and is a higher state of consciousness than you are? And Spirit said, well, I guess you all are going to have to deal with your competition, aren't you? You're going to have to make sure you don't try to shut those people down so that you still feel better about yourself. And I thought, wow, All right, that's saying something. So, do you believe that we have the potential to make it? Do you believe this? Do you have that potential inside of you to look at all of life from a spiritual perspective? All right. August is and has the potential to feel very destructive. So things around you may be kind of falling apart. This certainly happened to us last week, where last week we were believing that we were keeping our teaching center, and then suddenly things happened very rapidly, and the conclusion was, wow, we've got to pack up and move, and we've got maybe 10 days to do it in. And so we just kind of rose. We looked at the spiritual perspective as rather than being totally disappointed. I was for a few days, but spirit, it was like, you need to close that door, Nancy, because larger doors are opening for you. That's the 3D perspective versus the 5D perspective. And we could all feel it. And as disappointed as some of the community that has been coming in, people have been writing to me and say, this feels so right for you to be closing those doors. So it's just very affirming. The waves are coming from out of nowhere and are moving energies in August in a very rapid change. Now, I do see the first 2 weeks in August being kind of chaotic, and then it's almost like it just smooths out internally. It does not mean your life's going to be smooth. I want to be very clear about that, but energetically, it can be much smoother. And so when caught in the toxic currents, spirit is telling us to look around to find the life ring that's floating nearby. Spirit wants you to remember and reminds us there is always a life ring. There is always a life ring available to us. So simply remain connected to your trust and your faith. Your fate and destiny. This is another big one. Your fate and destiny are being activated and energized. Your fate and your destiny is being activated and energized in the month of August. Timelines of what you thought that your plans were going to be and how they're laid out suddenly change. Just like I talked about our Intuitive Mind Center, it suddenly changed for us. And so then we're making these big moves because October's going to be another gigantic shift of the ages. I'm going to describe it that way. So what's possible for you this month? New revelations, new ideas, new solutions to old problems come together for you in giant quantum leaps in August. So be ready for anything in this month of August. Be ready to let go of the thinking that you ever had it figured out. Be willing to let go of thinking that you ever had it figured out, and have trust and faith that your spirit has their hand in everything that's happening for you right now. All right, so we're going to do a meditation, and in this meditation, and the energy, I have to tell you, it's like a silky elixir of peace, a silky elixir of peace, while the wall of water is rising. So in this meditation, we're going to play with what lens are you looking through? And what that means is, where is your consciousness? So your consciousness can reside 200 feet. Your consciousness can reside in another galaxy while your human body is living here on Earth. So we want to try to bring it down into your physical reality as well. That's going to be really important. But sometimes, a lot of times, our consciousness is hiding deep somewhere in our body. So we're going to play with moving consciousness, your consciousness around, see what feels most comfortable for you and how you see the world. All right, go ahead and close your eyes and turn within and say hello to those incredible, incredible bodies of yours that your spirit adores. Your spirit, your soul adores your human body. Nice. Now say hello to your spirit, your guiding light for the month of August. Say hello to Earth. Say hello to the celestial realm. Your spirit is that rising rogue wave of energy. Your spirit. This isn't being done to you. You are a part of this rise. You are rising, you are standing, you are expanding. So, right now, knowing that this energy within you is going to rise in August, what type of grounding image would be most supportive for you right now? And then just imagine if it's a tree with roots, let it be a tree with roots. If it's water, let it be water. If it's animals or rainbows, um, or a house structure is going to be your grounding, or crystals. Go ahead and play with whatever imagery is coming through and ground yourself to the center of the earth. And even if you don't feel like you can ground very well today, just bringing in cosmic energy sometimes can help with that as well. And Spirit's asking us to work with salmon, the color of salmon, which is an orangish pink. So imagine a large ball of cosmic celestial energy, kind of a salmon color, over the top of your head, and let it just start flowing down through your body and your aura and all the way down your grounding. But if your spirit's calling you to work with another color, please listen to your spirit over my guidance. It's a very soothing color, very soothing, very comforting. Now, imagine that your consciousness is a sparkling ball of light. Right now, tune into your intuition, tune into your guiding spirit to see where your state of consciousness resides. Is it really miles high above your head, or is it down somewhere in your body? I encourage you not to look for it, just let your spirit kind of guide you with an intuitive impression. Now, imagine if your consciousness is down somewhere in your body, allow your consciousness to rise. I call it taking the elevator to the top. It's going to rise all the way up to the center of your head, behind your eyes, a little above your ears. Take the elevator to the top. If your intuitive imprint is sharing with you that your consciousness is floating above you somewhere. You're going to take the elevator down to your sixth chakra. Just imagine your consciousness is a ball of light. Now we're going to play a little bit. I want to see if you can experience what lens you're looking at. A 3D lens. That's usually down in one of the first, second, or third chakra. So go ahead and move your consciousness down below your diaphragm, only at the level that it's comfortable. If it's not comfortable, move to the top, but just to stay here for about 30 seconds. And are you looking out of the front of your survival chakra, your root chakra? Do you see life from a pure state of having to survive and being in fear? Always thinking you need to be searching for everything from that survival state? Or are you looking at from the second chakra, everything's in emotional turmoil? You're overwhelmed with your own emotions or someone else's emotions. At that 3D level, are you looking out from the lens of the third chakra, which is power games, manipulation, feeling disempowered? Or feeling bullyish? That's the opposite of disempowered. Now let's move up to your heart chakra, your consciousness, that little ball of light, to move up to your heart chakra. Are you looking at life from that state of love, that pure love, or attached love? Do you fear your heart's going to be broken or you're going to be abandoned? That lens of looking at life from your heart. We've heard the saying, they wear their heart on their sleeve. All right, let's move up to the throat area. That's your communication. Do you look at all of life through words, through what's being said, through what's not being said, through having to perfectly find your words? Move your consciousness back up to your sixth chakra, and then go ahead and move right up into the seventh chakra, your spiritual chakra. That spiritual perspective. The seventh chakra is in the fifth 5D world. Looking at life from a spiritual perspective. Now move back down to your sixth chakra. Your sixth chakra is the one that keeps the clarity, keeps the focus, and can communicate with all of your chakras at the same time. And so for just a moment, when you move your consciousness to your sixth chakra, your third eye, go ahead now and open your eyes and look around your room with your consciousness in your head. Go ahead and close your eyes for just a moment to thank your body, thank your spirit, thank the group that's listening in to this August frequency forecast for being a unified support system. Thank your spirit for the lessons. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. So, action step, would love to read your comments about what that experience was like. Did it trigger some sort of consciousness shift for you that you might not have been aware of before? And then what you want to start doing is saying, hey, am I down below my diaphragm? Is my consciousness down there? Wow, what kind of decisions am I making from that 3D physical perspective? Or let me take the elevator to the top in my sixth and seventh chakra. Now let me view the outcomes of that same issue that I'm working at, and allow yourself to kind of feel both perspectives, and then you have the right to choose which perspective you wish to follow. So just as we're wrapping up, the other thing is Psychic Mastery 1, our year-long meditation intuitive development program. We only open it up for registration 2 or 3 times a year. This is coming up at the end of September, so you can join the Intuition with Precision page. We're going to be opening up that registration again at the end of September. And then also in September, we have the fall equinox that is coming. And that is going to be a fantastic event to be a part of. The tickets are available to register for through my website, intuitivemind.org. And because October is considered one of the biggest months energetically of the entire year, so joining in the fall equinox is really going to help each and every one of you and myself make some big shifts before October comes. So anyway, that was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot today, as usual, but it really felt silky and smooth and expansive and uplifting. So thank you all for sharing your day with me during this beautiful summer here in the Northern Hemisphere and winter in the Southern Hemisphere. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you all next Thursday. Take care.